I'm here with Josh LaJaunie. Josh has kind of become a friend over the last few months, and you may have seen our teaser slash trailer for a project that I kind of wrangled him in on. And I know, Josh, for some people that might not be familiar with your story through our video or other podcasts or social media, maybe for someone who doesn't know much about you, can you just kind of introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Josh LaJaunie. I'm from Thibodaux, Louisiana, which is down on the bayou, south bottom of the boot, south of I-10. Real Louisiana. Uh, and I grew up hunting and fishing like everybody around here, playing football. Doing the normal country boy coon ass existence, and ultimately that lifestyle led me to be, among other things, led me to be a 400 plus pound man. And you know, long story short, I fixed that, not without failing several times. First, I've lost probably 80 pounds or so. It probably three or four times in my life, but this very last time, it really it really stuck. And the reason I think it did is because a couple of things. I went to school. I got a degree, and became a lot more pragmatic and willing to crack a book and find out some facts and stuff. And that led to a passion for running in this last stint of weight loss, which then led to a what's become a real passion for eating a plant-based diet. And so that's basically how I got to where I am right now, is through running and plants. So I say a lot in my talks, which I give talks every now and then. And so, like, the very first slide is, it's how I identify, which I think is important. Is I'm a hoodat, I'm a coon ass, and I'm a runner and a plant eater. So those four things, I think, kind of wrap me up in that's kind of me in a nutshell, and I'm kind of proud of it.
Great. And just to clarify, I also live beneath I-10, although it may only be by 2 or 3 miles. So if that's the only thing that separates
Well,
the real Louisianians and the not, then I still fall in the category.
Indiana gets a pass on the I-10 thing.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I know I kind of pitched the idea of the project to you and asked if you'd want to be the first person, aka guinea pig, for this. And on your website, I was looking around, and you have on your website that after I emailed you, you said, I honestly ducked him for a few weeks because I was nervous about the whole idea. But after warming up to the discomfort of not being in control of the message, I began to see that it could be a huge opportunity for not only me, but for a movement poised to save mankind as we know it. Um, was it because you thought I was a bit of a kook, or were you just nervous about being portrayed on video?
No, I didn't think you were a kook at all. That's probably why it made me nervous, because I felt like you were very knowledgeable, and I was nervous about being on video, and nervous about not being, like I said, not being in control of of um, of my message. I know that you would check with me and make sure that I was comfortable with anything that you would put together. Now I know that more so than then, but yeah, a big part of me was just nervous about not being the person in charge of putting it all together. It was kind of making me nervous.
That makes sense. That's also good to hear, just because from my perspective, it's hard to put myself behind the camera sometimes. I think one of the things that intrigued me about your story was that really it had only been told in an audio format and never in video. And so much of your story that's compelling to me. I mean, the story itself is compelling, but the actual visual of it itself is
Mhm.
is incredible. What was it like whenever you first saw that teaser trailer video? What was it like seeing yourself on video and hearing your story read by you, maybe for the first time in that kind of format?
I had to watch it again because the first time was, honestly, it was a little cloudy because I was pretty teared up. Um, it was I was very impressed with the quality, like how, just forget about the story, just how clean and crisp everything was. And I was like, wow, shit, I'm in that. Like I'm like the focus of this beautifully crafted like thing. And yeah, it was powerful. It was moving. It really was. It was moving. And honestly, I've probably watched it 100 times.
Well, whenever I'm looking at at the YouTube views, I'll have to keep that in mind now.
Yeah,
The
I'm
number is a little
skewing
skewed.
the YouTube numbers. My bad.
uh, so I know you were talking about. I know you're talking about, running has been, especially in this last kind of component of weight loss. What initially drew you into running?
What initially drew me into running is just I had done some like just really superficial reading on the topic of weight loss. And I think it might have been a Runner's World magazine that or maybe even um Men's Fitness or something, and I can't remember exactly where, but something I read hinted to the fact that, lower heart rate over a long period of time was good for fat burning. I felt like I was already big and muscly at the time, and because I had played football for so long and I had been in the gym a lot throughout my life, that I felt like if there was some way that I could just sort of melt the fat off of everything that was already buried beneath, that would be that would be most beneficial to my uh, overall goals as far as how I wanted to metamorphosize my body and change my, just the way I look. We weren't getting any deeper than that at that point. It was just changing the way I look and trying to find the most efficient way to do that. And so that's when, you know, I I I decided to start doing a lot more cardiovascular, like long stuff. Because at that time, 40 minutes on the elliptical was like it was like a marathon, right? And so, but I would spend an hour and a half or so in the gym pumping iron, and I was beginning to understand that. Wait, I, that's not really what I'm wanting to do here. If I'm wanting to lose body fat and you know get slimmer, get smaller, get more fit, um, then I need to incorporate some of this more uncomfortable, because at the time it was totally uncomfortable long duration cardiovascular, medium sort of cardiovascular exertion. And so slowly but surely I would go from, because I couldn't do the treadmill very long, so I would go from treadmill, I would say, 30 minutes on the treadmill, or yeah, 20 to 30 minutes on the treadmill, and then do 45 minutes on the elliptical. So that was where it started. And I started to really, all of the sweat pouring off, and I started to get results, and I started to lose weight, and I started to like this running thing that I was doing. It was painful, but so was, trying to bench press 225 10 or 15 times. That was painful too.
So it started out almost as an efficiency thing that then turned into a passion thing.
It totally did. And it was because I had my workout buddy there with me, Jeffrey, and he used to work offshore, and he would talk about how much running helped him. He would run on the boats. He used to work on boats, and he would tell him, I forget, it would be like he would run 30 laps on deck of this thing, and it's like and I was like, yeah, you know what? It's our thing. This running we can do anywhere. We don't really need a membership for, and it started clicking like so. And then after our weight workouts, which I had switched the weight workouts to be more cardiovascularly intense, because I would, instead of doing 3 sets of 10 with a sip of water and a bullshit session in between each one, I started like supersetting, where we would move from, I'm doing this, you're doing this, then we'd swap, and we'd never stop. And then we'd go hit, our little run. We started at a certain point. I started to bring the running outside, and it was because Jeff, I had a partner that was there with me to help push me, and so yeah, it really started to develop into into a passion, um, and that coupled with the love for the city of New Orleans, which was really starting to bloom and blossom in me at that time in my life, because my wife had introduced me to the city in a way that I had never experienced the city before, and we were spending a lot of time there on the weekends and all, and I knew that Crescent City Classic was, you know, a, like the epitome of New Orleans running, and so that was just another little step towards really getting on fire for, running.
So I know the Crescent City Classic is a race that means a lot to you. It has a lot of significance. I think you recently ran it for the third, fourth time. Is that right?
2012 was my first, so yeah, so it's my fourth time.
Okay. And what does that race mean to you?
Oh man, it changed my life. Like no hyperbole, you know. It literally changed my life, not only in physically and in running, but I feel like relationship with the city, because through running and through the Crescent City Classic and through the run groups that I've um, become part of during my training to do the Crescent City Classic better and all of that stuff, uh, I've developed relationships with people in the city. So it's like this real deep organic connection that's happened, and it's been it's been phenomenal.
So since the first Crescent City Classic, I think I've heard you refer to that as your first ultra.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of yeah, it totally was. Yeah,
I know you've had a ton since. I know that one of your more recent races, you had a pretty phenomenal success at Bear Bait, 50-mile race in Florida, came out first place overall.
right,
And then I know that you had the Crescent City Classic this year. You had high standards for things didn't go exactly as you planned.
right.
And I overheard you tell a story about your wife and in kind of response um, to your disappointment. Would you mind sharing that story?
Yeah, no, not at all. Like, so we go and we do this. I do all of this training for all of the ultras, because like 2015 was the year of the ultra for me, and so I had some great success and everything, and I was really excited. But I switched focus to the Crescent City Classic, because the Crescent City Classic is like, I mean, it's close to my heart. I love that race. It means so much to me for all of the reasons I just told you about. And so last year I ran 41:06, and I was last year I was wanting to do under 40 minutes. And I said it on Rich Roll. I didn't say it on Rich Roll's podcast, I don't think, but maybe I did. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was pretty clear that that's what I wanted to do, and didn't get it done. And then this year, again, I want to get under 40 minutes, and I understand it's a very tough, threshold. The 40-minute 10K is really fast, especially when you're a former 400-pound guy who still currently weighs about 195. That 195-pound dude, I know one guy who's a freak of nature who can do it at that weight. But most of the time, I mean, that's pretty quick for a guy that big. But screw that. I mean, I've been doing impossible for a few years now. So like, I'm not worried about that. So anyhow, here we go, and we get into the race. I didn't really train for 8 weeks like I would like to have, because I did rock and roll just the month previous, and I had a great marathon PR, so I was pumped about that. But I go right into 10K training, and I only really trained for about 3 weeks before the Crescent City Classic to try to get my times down. And so anyway, I run the race and I get I get 41:07, which is a second slower than last year. I was just devastated. I literally hit the dirt on the other side of the finish line and put my face in the grass and like shed a little tear. I didn't want people to see me be that tore up over it, but I totally was, man. I was like devastated. And so after the race, my wife, she's like, kind of licking, dealing with me, licking my wounds and being a titty baby about it and all. And I'm laid in the bed and she gets up and she's like, I'm going to Dillard's because I'm going to go shopping. She's like, do you need anything? I was like, well, a sub a sub 40-minute 10K would be nice. And she's like, well, are they on the shelf near the 50-mile wins? And I was like, okay, touche. She's, she said, we talked about something yesterday. It's like she's she had read an article where this older guy, 90-year-old fellow, talked about the relationship that he had with his wife and how regardless of what he would say, he would tell his wife, "You're my best friend," and her reply to that would be, "And your best critic." And if he would say that you are my best critic, she would also follow up with, "And your best friend." And I think that that's a really cool way to jive between two humans, and we do that for each other. And she helps me kind of keep some balance in my expectations and my um, emotions and disappointments and all of that stuff. So she brings me up when I need it and pulls me down a little bit when I need it. So it's beautiful.
No, I loved hearing that story, and sometimes we just need a little reminder of where we've come from, and our
But
accomplishments and all that kind of stuff as well.
the self-deprecating fat guy inside me would say that wasn't truly a 50-mile win because it wasn't a very fast 50-mile time. I just happened to be on the course on a day when nobody ran it faster than 9:20 because 9:20 shouldn't win a 50-mile race. And so it's like I can hear my wife's eyes rolling right now as those words come out of my mouth, um, but so it seems like self-deprecating and like you being a bit ridiculous. But what it does is it keeps me on fire for better all the time, and I want because I mean I, I'm I'm clawing here, and I'm clawing forward, and as my the PRs get skinnier and skinnier and harder to come by. That claw, that constant creep forward is more more and more intense, and you need fuel for that. So I'm constantly working on myself, and I have some buddies who are way out in front of me that it's fun to run behind them and like hope to maybe catch them one day. And so it takes a whole bunch of different pieces, to make progress. I think.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we kind of briefly talked about before, that I wanted to talk to you about. I know with social media it can be really easy to kind of see one side of things. Obviously you live a very inspirational life, and in a ways leave a lot of aspiration for people to work towards. But I also know that, and you've shared with me, like you have struggles. Life is not perfect.
No.
Um, can you maybe talk about that a little bit, and also balancing, that internal dialogue that goes in with yourself, but also that goes on in public with everyday people, but then also that goes on, and how you kind of have to try and, in a weird way, manage people's expectations and their interpretations for people that there's a good chance you'll never meet or never see face to face.
Yeah, when you do like when you do like a 15-second Instagram video or a quick post, it's hard to really, you know, have the type of disclaimer that should really be involved in each one of those posts that say, hey, I'm just a regular dude. I fail a lot myself. I don't always, I'm not always able to achieve the the things that I want to achieve. I don't and I don't think that I'm superior to you. I don't, it's like this big long page long disclaimer that I feel like should go on every post, but you just don't you you don't that's just not how it works. I want to be inspiring the best I can to people who are where I once was. That doesn't mean that I am no longer in a place of struggle and turmoil and inner, like, cognitive dissonance a lot of times, because I don't talk a lot about publicly about my what I do for a living, or um, some of those things that keep me up at night that have nothing to do with really um, weight loss or running or anything like that. Anybody who's a business owner understands that there's like some real confusing, um, potentially depressing vagaries that exist in being, the captain of your own ship. That sounds awesome and cool, but it can wear your ass out sometimes and really drain you. So some of my biggest struggles are still in those times of confusion. Um, Even though I am fully plant based, I still, once in a blue moon, you know, have issues with trying to fill a hole with food. I do. I'm not getting fat. I'm not getting fat again. That's not going to happen. Um, but that fat guy still lives in there, and I spent a long time figuring out, even erroneously, admittedly, figuring out how to deal with, you know, stress and confusion, right? And sometimes you go back to that old friend of food, regardless of, yeah, it's not cheeseburgers, you know, but filling yourself beyond capacity is, regardless of what you're eating, there's like mental stuff going on there. There's some mental, emotional triggers happening. And yeah, that gorging may not make you fat, but boy, you lost that battle that day. You really did. And I just, that's something that I struggle with. It's not something that happens to me often. It's something, especially like if I'm really training a whole lot, and because so extra training will bring on that extra physical stress of having your body constantly in this reparative mode, trying to repair tissues and get ready for the next exertion. But life doesn't stop just because you're training for something. So you still have all of these other inputs that can really uh, bring bring on confusion and stress, and so now I'm like, hell, I've burned 5,000 calories today. Plus, with my, I could probably eat 7,000 calories and not go into a caloric surplus today. So that means I might eat I might eat a whole bag of like Elizabeth's granola or something, which I'm glad I can only get that at one store in New Orleans. and I can't find it in Thibodaux. I swear it's crack, man, for a fat guy. It's crack. But it's amazing, and like I'm reading the ingredients, and it's like, the only bad thing in there is that they got some added cane sugar, which that's a trick that people they use in those ingredients anyway. But yeah, so I would eat things that I would sometimes I still struggle with eating things that I would never ever recommend anybody eat, and you feel you feel hypocritical in those moments. So it just adds the fuel. I mean, it just fuels the fire, and fuels the fire of that not feeling worthy about all of the attention that I get sometimes. Um, like not feeling worthy about winning a 50 miler, not feeling worthy of having really amazing people like nestle me under their wing for no apparent reason to me. It's not apparent to me. It's totally apparent to them because I've voiced that I don't understand why you want to help me so much, and but it's so you I don't know what I'm trying to say other than I don't have it all figured out. I'm not, you know, just sitting back in judgment from on everyone who hasn't lost their weight yet or anything like that. I totally relate. Uh, and just because I've lost 200 pounds doesn't mean I still don't have um, demons myself. And so I think it's important to be more open about that. That way we can really address it. Because I think a lot of times people who are still currently massively overweight might think that I forgot what it's like or forgot where I came from. And I haven't at all. I haven't at all. I I remember it very clearly, but I also remember the things I did to move from that, and also nestling into the fact that struggle and turmoil and massive daily effort is is going to be a constant. So it doesn't matter that it took you a lot of work to get to where you are because you're still going to need a lot of work to get you to where you're going. And I think a lot of us in the weight loss world get to that certain place, say minus 50, 80, 100 pounds, and then we sit back and admire our work without really having ever embraced that grind that'll propel us forward to the next level. Where a whole bunch of people sort of hovering right there in that middle ground. And I know I got way off topic of what my struggles are, but that's part of what my struggle is trying to understand how in the world can I help while at the same time digesting my life and how I'm moving forward and where do I want to go? Because I've already done some of these things that I thought were completely impossible. And honestly, I've got some things ahead of me that I feel like are completely impossible right now. Um, and so I still have just as much work and struggle and unknowns in my life as I did then. Um, and how to convey that, how to show people that without like being a whiny titty baby online daily saying, "Oh, it's so hard. Y'all don't know it's hard for me too." I don't want to do that. I don't want to entertain those feelings because it's bullshit. You put the blinders on and let's grind, baby. I'm here with you. Let's do it. Let's do it. Shit's gonna happen. You're gonna mess up along the way, but drop it, drop it drop it to the wayside, and you know, step forward. Let's grind together.
I wonder if some of those same things that make you critical about your times and about kind of like where you're at, if that those are the same things that make you so great um, at inspiring others, at it, like that critical nature is what causes you to never be happy with where you're at, because you look behind at a quick glance, but really you're looking at tomorrow, you're looking at next week and everything else, and and also realizing that like we're all in process.
Some of us just let the process rule though. And I did for a long time. I let the process get me to a place because you know, you're right. Nobody's really happy where they're at. And I get it, So that's a practice. You have to learn about the present and trying to really take a moment and take a deep breath and be appreciative of where you are and how far you have come. Yet at the same time, not be complacent, you know? And it's a difficult balance. I get it. That's even a bigger struggle than the food and the social implications of the food, as a coon asked, and all of those other things. That inner balance is tricky.
So speaking of social media, I know your birthday just passed and you posted something that to me, and I think probably to a lot of people, was pretty brave.
Yeah.
Would you mind talking about that, why you shared it, and maybe kind of just first start off by just simply saying what you shared?
Yeah, no, I shared an image of myself, a video of myself without a shirt. Um, and it's part of me trying to be use use that medium rather than that big huge disclaimer. You know what I was talking about? As it is sort of a disclaimer to everything that I post. I'm not perfect. Um, um, at the same time, I have come a long fucking way, and I am proud of myself. I'm not where I want to be yet, um, but where I am now is not nearly as horrific or horrific at all compared to what I imagined I would look like back when I was 400 pounds. Okay, Josh, magically all the fat goes away. What happens to your big, flabby, floppy body? Because I'm going to tell you, man, minus 50 pounds, minus 80 pounds, minus 100 pounds, man, you look weird. You look weird. And it's like I've done all of this work, you know, and I still look weird. But finally starting to see like maybe some of those little ab muscles starting to poke through, which is like a mind blower. Like some people will look at my body and say, "Holy shit, look at the weird like deflated titty thing you have and the weird thing you have around your belly button." And that's true. But I see myself without a shirt so often that those things kind of get muted visually to me sometimes, and I can focus and I see what I can see like good things. I'm like, wow. Like I'll wake up early in the morning and before I have any water or anything, and I guess my body's dehydrated, and it'll be first thing in the morning. I walk past the mirror, just in my croissants, and I'm like, wow, that's you. That's you, bro. No, I'm not gonna be on the cover of Men's Fitness anytime soon, like striking a rich roll pose with veins in my abs. That's not happening. But at the same time, I feel like being honest about where I am, and it does two things. It does go, hey, this guy did it, and he's like, fuck it. It is what it is. I'm not going to have anybody cut it off of my body. It's part of me. But at the same time, is also like, hey, holy shit, where did all of that skin go that I'm scared that it's going to be hanging down all over my body? Yes, there's some there, but man, if you look at my 5 extra large t-shirt, there's a whole lot of extra material on that shirt. There's not like a you know,
there's not the same amount of extra material on my body. So I'm happy about that, you know? I don't think we, and I'm not judging anyone, but I just don't think we should go voluntarily have ourselves cut up because of because of some war scars from having, you know, overcome something so massive like me, and being open about this too is like me, you, the guy Tim, the guy Jared, like all these guys that I know exist now, and so we share a lot of those same things, and man, I say we'd be proud of. I mean, we'd be proud. We should be proud of it, and you know, the other thing I wanted to illustrate by that is there's fat still in there, right? So it's not like it's just skin. There's fat still in there. And I'm not going to be like the weird obsessive, you know, get down to whatever guy, but it just is a reminder that, hey, you're living in a way that your body isn't really consuming all of the stored fat. I'm way better as far as dietary concerns go than I used to be, but that holds no bearing on where I'm going. And so it's very important. That's what, when I wrote my little blog, my little race report about my marathon, it was important that I put that very first statement in there in my rock and roll post, which was if
If where I am is only
right,
significant when compared to where I was, then I'm not where I want to be.
that's exactly right. And that was important. That's important to me, and because a lot of us go, you know, yep, I lost 50 pounds, and that, hell yeah, but you're not done. We're not done, and that's a tricky one to address with people, and you know, you might have a certain license when you've already been there, but then to maybe start to address that with someone, but then you get the old slap in the face of, oh, you forgot where you come from, you don't know what it's like, that kind of thing. No, I do know what it's like, and I know the changes that I had to make along the way, and you can fight the changes that are necessary all you want and come up with real good, well constructed reasons around those changes that need to be made, but in the end, either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it.
Well, when I saw it, my first, honestly, my first thought was that's one of the bravest things I've seen because I know that, as a formerly big guy yourself, myself, that body image is something that
It's
we
huge.
struggle with, that we used to struggle with, that we still struggle with. So to put it out there so blatantly, I know was not something that probably you just woke up and thought, "What the heck? I'm just going to go and do this." That it probably came with some consideration. Um, so we've been talking about, you're constantly looking forward. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What does 5 years down the line look like for you? Whether that's, you know, goals personally, professionally, physically, body wise, whatever that might be. What do you, or maybe 5 years is too far. Maybe it's only a year or 6 months even.
A few things. I would like to be uh, an author. That's a pretty big priority in my life right now. I think my story, um, hopefully, and hopefully it's not, doesn't come off as, you know, conceit, but I think my story could help a lot of people, and I would like to do it in a unique, refreshing way. So I'm working on that. I would like to have a few hundred milers under my belt by then. I would like to have some iconic hundred milers. Um, I would like to be able to spend a lot less of my time worrying so much about um, sewer pumps and mobile home park tenants and all of the vagaries that, although it'll still be there, but maybe not so much as a daily thing. And I would like to be able to shift more of my time to maybe doing some traveling, maybe coupled with destination race traveling, talk about a book, speaking engagements, helping people kind of catch a grip, and maybe doing some more paradigm busting a little bit, because even within the weight loss field or community or whatever, we got a lot of shit wrong. It's really simpler than the industry wants it to be, because there's a whole lot less potential proprietary things to sell if it's a complicated endeavor, this whole life revamping ordeal. So yeah, that's what I like to. That's where I see myself in a few years. A successful, middle of the pack kind of ultra runner and marathoner who I think will be able to BQ by then, right? Maybe sub 40-minute 10K by then. Uh,
If the last 5 years are any indication of busting paradigms and turning things that once seem impossible upside down, then I think that it's no doubt that the next five will be equally or more bright. Any encouragement you'd give to someone who's at the beginning part of this journey? I know you have this conversation a lot, whether it's via Facebook or in person or over the phone. Whether it's what you already tell those people or what you'd want to tell people. Somebody who's hearing your story and thinking, I want to do something. I've got to do something. If this guy can do it, anybody can. What would you tell him to give him some encouragement?
Name of the game is change, which is why I love the name of your film so much. The name of the game is change. Do something. Change something, even if it's wrong. Change. So and think of it as change practice. I don't care if it's which way you take to get to work, or which in the order in which you brush your teeth and then you take a shower, or you take a shower and then you brush it. Start shaking it up. Change. Make some changes. And the more you get comfortable with change, the easier it'll be to maybe give up something like your morning coffee, or milk, or fried chicken. Those things, like, just take it one piece at a time. I know where I stand. I stand way over here in no man's land of eat plants and run, and I get that that's totally undigestible for somebody who is where I was. So when I talked to the 400-pound me, if that was possible, if he was sitting in this room, and I said, hey, dude, here's what you need to do. Give up all meat and dairy. You need to eat whole, produce department sourced or farmer's market sourced fruits and vegetables. And you need to run. You need to run in 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 miles a week. I would lose him. He's like, this is crazy. So, but what's more digestible is change, because whatever you're doing got you to where you are, and you're not really digging that. So there's a whole, and I'm going to use this analogy again, there's a whole symphony of changes, just to bite off of Colin Campbell's way he says he uses it's a symphony of systems. The body is a symphony of systems. So there's a whole symphony of changes that need to happen to get you where you dream of being. And when I'm talking about, I'm not talking about professional success, because I'm not where I dream of being. I'm talking about standing in front of the mirror and holding your belly with both arms like this and watch it pour over your arms in the mirror, and you standing there and you're looking at yourself and you got tits bigger than most chicks. Chicks with some girls we went to high school with would love to have boobs as big as that. And I've actually had at a pool party had a girl tell me, oh, because I was standing there like this trying to be Mr. Tough Guy. And she says, oh, I wish I had that kind of cleavage. Right? So anyway, you dream of that disappearing. And we spend so much of our energy wishing it away. And what you don't realize is that energy, you may realize it or not, that energy is wasted. Spend just a little, start allocating just a little of that energy to changing something. Even if you don't think it has anything to do with you losing any weight. Because ultimately it does, because you have made an effort to embark on implementing change. So change is the biggest thing. That's what needs to happen. And break it down into little morsels. And but don't quit. I get so many messages of people going, here's my plan, I got it all figured out. You said this and you said that, so I'm gonna do, and then I read that Dr. Garth said this, and then I saw Dr. Campbell and I read his book and it said that, and then here's this plan that I have. That's beautiful and all, but that's too much shit all at one time. You're probably not gonna stick to that plan. Whereas if you just pick one thing and go, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. Even if it's just, I'm going to stop eating food at gas stations, period. Even if it's nuts or whatever. I'm going to stop buying things to eat at a gas station. Right? Just, I'm throwing hypotheticals out there, you know. Just something really, really simple. Change practice. That concept. Practice making changes in your life before you make some big elaborate plan that you're probably not going to stick to anyway.
That's all great. I guess lastly, where can people connect with you, find out more about what you're doing, and connect?
Sure. I have a fairly unique name. So my name is Josh LaJaunie, JoshLaJaunie. And you can hit me up at on my website, which is joshlajaunie.com, and you can connect with me. You can see all of my social media handles and names on there. But again, on Instagram, I'm probably most active on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat now. I'm still learning Snapchat, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of secretive too. It's like I kind of dig Snapchat. So I'm Twitter, obviously. I'm on all of them just by my name, and so go check out my website and look at some of those self-education things that I have. I put a little bit of thought into my website. I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to website creation or doing any of these things. I've contacted some people with Fiverr and stuff like that, trying to get a little assistance. But yeah, just hit me up on my website, and you can find me, or just by Googling my name, that you'll find the Rich Roll podcast for sure if you Google my name.
Great. I'll include all of that in the show notes. And
sure.
Just want to say, Josh, you're a brave man. You're awesome. Thanks for doing what you do, for being who you are, for being out there, and really appreciate it. I know that that you've done a ton to inspire people, for people to make changes in their life. And don't ever underestimate the effect that you're having on everybody. Thanks for the couple of minutes, for spending some time with me, and I'll look forward to chatting with you soon.
Thank you, Jason. I don't think I'm that brave. I don't think I look that terrible without a shirt on, but
no, you look good. You look good. I'm hoping for some of those ab muscles to start poking through too. Maybe I need to come to y'all's boot camp a couple more times.
Yes, you do. You get that V muscle.
I'm looking for the V muscle. All right, we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, brother.
Later.
Peace.